Chef Tyler Brown has been an inspiration to me for decades, and I'm privileged to be right here with him at Southall Farms in Franklin, and I'm thrilled to have you as a part of our show today, Tyler.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I think you have the most lovely philosophy and perspective as far as loving the land. And so I would just love to hear your thoughts about sustainable agriculture and your whole philosophy of farming.
Yeah, so, largely grown from the standpoint of a chef, right? And in my young years as a chef, seeing produce come into the kitchen from maybe large produce companies, and then different opportunities working with local farmers. I feel from a chef standpoint, it's our job to highlight the work of the farmer, right?
Right.
And at a point, I became very curious about what it takes to actually produce the produce and vegetables and fruits. And I wanted to honor that. I felt like to truly be able to honor the process, we need to understand what it takes. And so I started seeking. And in my journey, I feel really, from a chef standpoint, that simple is better. The simplest techniques, small touch of salt and pepper, maybe a little butter, but really to highlight what the work in the garden has done and the earth's job. And with that, I really love best practices. I like to celebrate the history and old ways, new ways, look where we're going to in the future. I think we have to always keep learning and keep expanding our periphery. And saw that opportunity here at Southall to create a place that guests can experience just that, the old ways, the new ways, how they work. And the biggest thing is we're here to just share our journey and our curiosities about agriculture and the farming, and hopefully produce some good food and meet some wonderful people and enjoy our community at the same time. So biodynamics is something that we're excited about, but it's not everything that we are, right? It's really important to us and our philosophy to recognize both sides of the aisle, if you will. Every farmer that I've come across and talked to about whether it's growing melons or squash or whatever it may be, one thing I'm certain of is that I'll find a very strong opinion on how it's done. And I've found that I need to form an opinion as well. And mine is that there's knowledge everywhere, something to be taken from everyone, and a place for us to apply it. And it's not to say that we are doing the right things or the best things. It's simply our journey, and we want to celebrate those successes and failures.
One of the things that I immediately feel entering Southall Farms is order, and that things are intentional and they're purposeful. And I think with order, and you know how that is in the kitchen, with order comes peace. And so was that the goal of all the planning that has gone into every little piece of Southall Farms?
Yeah, that's a big piece of it. We have tried really hard to identify how we're going to utilize all these curiosities, right? Whether it's the orchard or the gardens or our orangery, how does each element come into contact with a guest? And so you have to have some order with that, right? Because you have to think about how we're actually going to bring the whole story together.
So you're building from soil to plant to yield to use. You're just putting the whole landscape to work for you.
Yeah, that's the circle of life, right? Each element. We have to have good soil to have a good plant, to have a good product that we are then putting in front of a guest. So yeah, that's a large part of it, and back to that order piece. From a chef standpoint, I was very used to being able to control everything in four walls, right? Because there was a controlled environment. And so when I first started gardening, I tried to apply some of those sensibilities to gardening, and I learned very quickly that I was not in control. Mother Nature is certainly in control. And that was a great learning experience, right? There's humility there. There's take a step back, observe, take a deep breath. Again, with the guest in mind and the experience in mind, we wanted to create different areas that we would be producing and highlighting agriculture. And some of those ways are through our propagation greenhouse, where the seeds start and then they ultimately go out into the field. And we've created a kitchen garden that sort of the muse was some experiences that I had the opportunity to go and go to Monticello and see Thomas Jefferson's kitchen gardens, and wanted to create a place where guests can come in contact with the vegetables,
Right.
and what we're doing. I think it's just as much sharing as it is teaching, you know, and sharing the experience. But we want to give an opportunity to where folks can come and take a deep dive into what we're doing if they'd like, or they can just stay right on the surface and walk around and enjoy the beauty. And we want to have a balance there with that piece of the experience. But we want to share all of it.
I so appreciate everything that you're doing here. It is exactly what I try to do in my life and in my garden and in my kitchen as well.
Yeah.
So we're on the same path.
Yeah.
And I appreciate walking the path with you. This is fantastic.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And you know, a quote that I really love from a close friend of mine that said is, "Staying on the path doesn't mean a journey trouble-free." So there's, you know, ups and downs along the way, but Jeff Poppin taught me that line, and I really appreciate it. I think about it all the time. So thank you for having me.
Embrace those stones in the way, right?
That's right. That's right.
Thank you.
Learning moment. Thank you.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.